Welcome, everyone. My name is Rosie Pryor. I'm the chair of the Lane Community College Board of Education, and I welcome you to our November 30th, 2022 board meeting. This is our second to last meeting of this calendar year. Celia, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Lisa Fragola,
Present.
Austin Fulnagi,
Here.
Steve Mattel,
Here.
Rosie Pryor,
Here.
Angela Van Kraus.
And we have two excused board member absences tonight. And we wish those board members safe and well. The first item on our agenda is a land recognition, and it's my understanding that we have a student here tonight who will read our land recognition for us, Joel Southall. Welcome.
Thank you. I'd like to start our meeting with the acknowledgement that the land we are on is the traditional homelands of the Kalapuya people. The Kalapuya were stewards of this very land for over 14,000 years before their traditional way of life was forever disrupted and destroyed. We start our meeting with humility and reverence for the original inhabitants, the Kalapuya. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, I need to ask if there are any changes or additions to the agenda this evening. Be aware that I intend to change the order on the agenda. As we move forward, I'm going to flip action items with discussion items. So be ready for that. And is there a motion to adopt a consent agenda? So moved. Is there a second? Before we vote, is there any item on the consent agenda that a board member would like to pull? I can't see Angela. Angela?
My hand is up. Thank you for guessing that. Yes, I would like to pull BP item D, BP 5700, and item G, BP 7700, please.
7,700?
Last one.
Thank you. And before we vote, I'm going to ask Mike Blade to explain a couple points about policies that are in the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chair Pryor. I think what you're asking is on the two that had previous lane policies attached to them, correct? Yeah, so for OCCA board policy 6800, there was a question as to whether lane board policy 405 was being recommended that it be revoked, and it is not. What I thought I heard from the board at the work session was that you wanted to keep both of them. They're both about safety, but the OCCA board policy 6800 really is more of an OSHA policy rather than a general safety policy. So I think they work together well. And so the recommendation is to keep both of them. With respect to BP 7700, that in that case, because they're almost exactly the same with only a tiny bit of difference, the recommendation is to revoke board policy 655 and just retain BP 7700.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So one of those has been pulled and we won't act on that as part of this consent agenda. Is there any other question or observation about what's contained in the consent agenda that we're about to vote on? Nope.
Point of order.
Angela, you have your hand up.
I don't think we've adopted the agenda yet.
Hang on a second. Angela, did you wish to address the consent agenda?
Yeah, what I was pulling 7700 for was because I was not clear from my initial reading that we were retiring 655. But I see that language is included there. So I I don't feel the need to pull it anymore. If I can't undo that, that's fine. But I no longer want to pull 7,700 item G.
So is there any reason that we have to?
No, that's a friendly amendment.
Okay. Okay, so the only one we pulled off the consent agenda is 5,700. Austin, did you want to speak to the consent agenda?
No, I just wanted to make sure Angela, hand being raised was called on.
Thank you. I appreciate the help. Will you call the roll, please, Celia?
Yes. Lisa Fragala,
Aye.
Austin Fullnagy,
Aye.
Steve Mattel.
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries to approve the consent agenda. Before we go back and adopt the agenda, we're going to deal with the policy BP 5700. Angela, do you want to speak to your rationale for pulling it off the consent agenda?
Sure, thank you. I'd like to remove the references to male and female and men and women. I feel like the policy reads fine without them. I have a proposal. I'm not sure how best to share that. I don't think I have screen sharing. Oh, I guess I do have screen sharing, but I doubt anybody wants to see my screen. So I'm happy to sort of talk through that. I think it just makes sense to me that we would not include unnecessary gendered language in the policy.
Other board members have comments about that? Mike?
That's fine. Yeah, so what you would be doing is removing the words for men and women in the second line and male and female, just the words male and female in the last line of the first paragraph.
Is there a motion to approve the policy with those revisions?
May I move that? So moved.
Yes.
Second.
That was Angela and then Austin.
Thank you.
Will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Lisa Fragala,
Aye.
Austin Fullnagy,
Aye.
Steve Mattel,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus.
Aye.
Great. Thank you, board. Let's go back and is there a motion to adopt tonight's agenda? So moved. Thank you, Lisa.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Celia, will you call the roll?
Lisa Fragala,
Aye.
Austin Fullnagy,
Aye.
Steve Mattel,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus.
Aye.
Well done. We're going to now move to item 4B. We have a visitor this evening, and as a courtesy, I would love to give her the opportunity to speak to us first. And Dr. Bulger, I yield to you.
Yes, thank you very, very much. We'd like to have Morgan Cowling come to the podium here. I'd like to introduce you, Morgan. Morgan Cowling is the executive director of the Oregon Community College Association. The executive director serves as the primary voice for Oregon's 17 community colleges by advocating and coordinating state policy, budget, and capital funding. Prior to coming to OCCA, Morgan was executive director of the Oregon Coalition of Local Health Officials for 11 years, where she advocated on behalf of local public health departments. Before working for CLHO, she advocated in the Oregon legislature on behalf of county commissioners in the areas of mental health, public health, seniors, children, and families, and spent 2 years as legislative director for the Oregon Student Association. Morgan is a native Oregonian who feels quite at home in Eugene, having earned a Bachelor of Science at the University of Oregon and a Master of Public Administration from New York University. We're pleased to have Morgan here tonight. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Well, I appreciate the invitation to speak with you today. There were a couple of things I was going to talk about. One, I'm not quite a year into my role at the Oregon Community College Association, so I was going to do a little introduction of myself and share a little bit about OCCA. our legislative priorities as we look forward into the long legislative session, and then answer any questions or address anything else you'd like to share. So just to fill in some of the pieces of my bio, I am from Oregon. I was born in Eugene. I grew up in Portland, and for my career, I have worked for statewide associations, and I have advocated on behalf of those organizations. And really, my career has been at this nexus of local government and advocacy. So all of my professional work has been on behalf of, the biggest portion was at the Coalition of Local Health Officials, where I advocated on behalf of the 33 local county public health departments and worked with the legislature and trying to make sure that there is funding for public health. That was before, during, and midway through the pandemic. And then before that, I did work for the Association of Oregon Counties. So I have been working with the Oregon legislature the vast majority of my career. And now I'm here and I get the opportunity to visit all 17 community colleges, and I'm really excited to be here. This is my third in-person visit to a community college. So I'm making my way across Oregon. I was at Southwestern Oregon last week. I'm here this week. And then in a couple of weeks, I'm heading to Treasure Valley on the opposite side of the state. And it is one of my favorite parts to be able to visit and explore the campus. And I had a wonderful tour here today. So thank you for the invitation. So what has OCCA been working on over the last several months? Really, the last 6 to 9 months have been looking at what our legislative priorities and our legislative agenda is going to be for the legislative session that starts in January. At the October OCCA board meeting, where you are represented by President Bolger and Austin Fulnegi, we prioritize 3 issues. Our legislative priorities are the issues that we will be proactively working in the legislative session. That does not mean that those are the only things that we will be working on. We will also be carefully reviewing all of the bills that are introduced for their impact on community colleges, and we'll be, of course, working on those that we're not proactively trying to move forward. The top 3 issues that the OCCA board approved was to ask for a 29% increase in funding for the Community College Support Fund. We are currently funded for 2 years at $699 million of biennium. I'm going to check my notes to make sure I get the numbers right. The ongoing increase would be a 20.1% increase of $165 million, bringing the 2-year number to $855 million. And then we are supporting the Higher Education Coordinating Commission's recommendation for $50 million in one-time funding for community colleges. The 20.1% is less than the current service level budget that we put forward to the Higher Education Coordinating Commission. So part of our conversation with the HEC was that the 20.1% increase was a large increase, but was not enough to continue the current service level and continue funding that the community colleges needed. So that $50 million that they put in their budget was to help community colleges fund and continue programs that may need to be changed, or to work on increasing enrollment, or to make any community adjustments in community colleges without getting the full current service level budget. So that's a 29% increase. That's a pretty significant increase, and we will be spending the vast majority of our time trying to get that funding from the legislature. And I think we have the additional benefit of having that also be validated by the HEC's recommendation and their agency request budget to Governor-elect Kotek. So we are lockstep there. That's our number 1 legislative priority. Our second legislative priority is a policy bill to support community colleges giving a Bachelor of Science in nursing. In 2019, the state legislature allowed community colleges to offer applied baccalaureate degrees, but the applied baccalaureate in nursing is not a industry recognized standard. So we want to make sure that if community colleges wanted to offer that, that it would be in the best interest of the students in their nursing career as well. And then the third legislative priority is to support increase in funding for the Oregon Opportunity Grant, Oregon's need-based aid program. We want to make sure that we're both supporting funding for the institutions and supporting funding for students to attend community college. And we have been working with the OCCA Legislative Committee to put a specific number request to that. The OCCA board supported that as our third legislative priority, but we do not yet have a board approved number budget request going forward. In the Higher Education Coordinating Commission's agency request budget, they put forward a 300% plus increase in the opportunity grant. And we wanted to take some time to see if that's exactly what we wanted to support or support a different number. So those legislative priorities are what we have been working on right now. We are working on outreach to newly elected legislators and are just mailing off some welcome letters. We will be sending background information on the Oregon Community College Association and looking forward to talking with those new legislators and legislators who are continuing about our legislative priorities and really about the important community need and wonderful community asset that community colleges are. So we have a lot of work to do. There are a fair number of new legislators in this next legislative session. And I keep trying to think of that as an opportunity to identify new champions and new legislators to help us accomplish and get these legislative priorities met in the next legislative session. I think I'll pause there and see if there's any questions or anything else you would like me to talk about or answer.
I'm scanning my colleagues online, and I would like to let all my colleagues know that Board Member Eister has joined us via Zoom. He's on the road, so Mike, we will understand if we lose you. Be safe.
Thank you.
So questions, board members, observations? Austin, anything you want to add?
Other than, OCCA is a great advocate for community colleges at the legislative level. I'm proud to be on the board there, along with our president, Stephanie Bulger. And I've really appreciated the opportunities to learn during the last conference. I really appreciate the overall support that OCCA provides. And also helping us with our membership with the Oregon School Board Association, which is a topic for something later. So, yeah.
Very good. Yes, Lisa.
So I remember, I think it was the second year I was on the board. There was a legislative action day that OCCA had. And I'm wondering if that will happen.
Yes, thank you for asking this question. It has been a topic of conversation in our office for the last couple of days, actually. We have been planning a legislative summit March 8th and 9th in Salem. Mark your calendars, please plan on attending. And for those of you who don't know, the Capitol is undergoing a pretty significant seismic upgrade right now. So it has been very unclear what access we will have to the Capitol and if hearings would be only offered virtually or if legislators were going to just be doing Zoom meetings, we would need to rethink how that we would offer that legislative summit. In talking with staff in the speaker's office, we've learned that in the Capitol, the hearing room hall and the wings with the legislative offices will be open and legislators will be having committee hearings in person. And so there will be opportunities to have visits in person in Salem. We will not be able to do the kind of rally and actions on the Capitol steps that we've done before, but we will still be able to have a presence. We will still hold a legislative reception the night before and trainings and we're working on some guidance for how and advice for how to set up legislative meetings, because what we understand is there won't be anywhere in the building to loiter. There used to be like lots of places to sit and there was a coffee shop and all of those places are gone. So there's 2 places to go in the building. You go into the building, you have your meetings, and then there's nowhere to hang out until the next meeting. So we're working on some of those logistical pieces about how to advise people to set up those meetings and make sure that the time that they're spending there is very productive. But we're very excited about having that event in Salem in person.
Board members, any other questions for Morgan? Go ahead.
No questions, but just wanted to thank you for making the effort, to drive down from Salem. It's a cold and wet and dark night. I very much appreciate you coming down here and giving us some sense of a broader sense of what OCCA does. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to come back anytime too. So just let me know. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I think we'll revert to the original board agenda now, which takes us back to action items. That would be our first one would be action item 3A. Lisa?
Are we going to have time for public comment in the president's report?
Yes, I'm sorry. I did skip over that, didn't I? I don't know why, but I did. And we should do that because we have quite a number of people who want to speak to us tonight. So you want to call the online person first? Okay. Then we will have public comment.
Sarah Erickson. Sarah Erickson, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Is it ready for me to?
We are ready for you.
Ready to go.
Okay. Great. So, President Bulger and board meetings, thank you for having me and letting me speak. So I'm speaking today on behalf of the science, math, and engineering full-time faculty here at Lane. And specifically about our STEM learning zone. I will be talking about staffing issues that we've been having in our STEM learning zone, and my colleague Paula will be following up to explain kind of what the STEM learning zone is and why it's important for our students. So the current staffing for the STEM learning zone is very thin, and in order to even open the space at all, science, math, and engineering faculty were asked to volunteer to hold our office hours in the zone. Science faculty office hours are being used to supervise the zone and check out resources to students. And math, science, and engineering faculty are also asked to tutor during our office hours because there's no other tutors available for students. Out of 22 science, math, and engineering faculty surveyed this term, 13 are volunteering in the zone, but 8 said they are considering not continuing to volunteer beyond fall term. And there are several reasons why staffing the zone in this way is problematic. First, faculty office hours become office hours for all students rather than instructors' own students. A faculty member could find themselves neglecting their own students because another student showed up to ask a question first. And conversely, if several of a faculty member's own students show up to office hours, then other students who sought help in the zone may not receive it. Second, these office hours are not held in a private space, so there's less opportunity for sensitive conversations about grades and other concerns. Faculty are required by federal law to keep students' grades private. Third, staffing the zone in this way limits when it can offer tutoring only to those times when faculty are available to volunteer, rather than all hours of operation for the STEM learning zone. Fourth, math faculty used to be able to work in the zone as part of our teaching load, with a small number of faculty spending time in the zone for 1 to 2 credits to round out our schedules. And math faculty also have contract language providing us a way to earn TLCs by working in the zone. We're now being asked to do this voluntarily without compensation, and it is a violation of federal law for the college to ask public employees to volunteer to do something they would normally be compensated to do. And fifth, the work faculty are doing overlaps with work that classified employees do, particularly tutors. So asking faculty to volunteer their office hours in the STEM learning zone in this way is a violation of LCCEF's contract. Right now, faculty are torn between our desire to serve and support students and these serious labor and contractual violations. We are asking to have the STEM learning zones staffed robustly so that our students can have a space to form relationships, be supported, and succeed. We're asking the college to provide funding for hourly classified staff so we can open our doors to students 5 days a week and at least 2 evenings per week. We also ask the college to provide additional tutors so the zone is not dependent on staffing by faculty office hours. Part-time hourly employees are relatively affordable, and we believe these investments are central to our success in retaining students. By opening the zone more, we are sending the message that we care and we support student success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kate Sullivan, followed by Eric Kim.
Okay. Hi, good evening, President Bulger, members of the Board of Education, and other members of Lane's community. My name is Kate Sullivan. I'm here as the LCCEA VP of Transfer, and I want to speak to you briefly about my service on the state's Transfer Council, which I am one of 2 CC faculty who are serving on the council and one of 4 faculty from higher ed overall. I was nominated by the OEA. This kind of committee work, while decidedly less glamorous than other faculty responsibilities, is essential for improving students' educational experience, especially in the context of transfer and for limiting costs for students who are sometimes, upon transfer, they find that they have extra credits. As you may know, the Transfer Council is the result of Senate Bill 233, which directed the HEC to establish a 15-member council tasked with developing recommendations on Common Course numbering to oversee the major transfer maps and other credit-related issues. Thus far, as a council, we've done a number of things. We've confirmed 9 MTM subcommittees. We provided award definitions for the MTMs. We've approved a first group of 10 courses to go through the Common Course numbering system. And we've created a nomination and process and a solicitation process for membership on the council and membership on Common Course numbering committees. The first 4 Common Course numbering committees they worked under an incredibly tight deadline, and they came up with they fulfilled the mandate of Senate Bill 233 to finish their task by November, and the council approved their achievements. So what we have now is we have 10 courses across the state that share prefixes, numbers, the number of credits, and outcomes. And this is a first in the state, although the AAOT prescribed that there would be objectives, and for general subject areas, courses weren't required to be similar across the state, let alone aligned, even if they carry the same prefix and the same number. So you could take Math 111 at one community college or at one school and have different outcomes for that course. So this is the first time in the history of the state that we've had that kind of alignment, and it was achieved through really dedicated work from a number of faculty. And I just want to talk about 3 faculty members from Lane who've been serving on the Common Course numbering committees. It's Laura Peltier, who is in communications, Gina Zabati from writing, and Nikki Gavin from math. And all of these faculty members, in addition to the very crucial work that they perform on campus, dedicated at least 30, and in Nikki's case, 50 hours of labor into chairing committees or serving on these committees. And faculty work is often invisible, even on their own, at their own institutions, but it's especially invisible when they serve on kind of arcane committees. But this work is essential, and I hope that if you all know any of these faculty members, you take the time to thank them for their labor. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, Lane Community College Board of Education and President Bulger. My name's Eric Kim. I teach psychology in the social science department. And from the last board meeting, there was a request to maybe talk a little bit about the positive things that we've done. And so I'm going to couch this under that. So learning the psychology phenomena of the egocentric bias relates to the institutional learning outcomes of thinking critically, engage diverse values and civic and ethical awareness, and apply learning. In addition, it can help students in their personal life and potential career. The egocentric bias is the tendency to think that you contributed more to a group effort than you actually did. While there may be motivational factors to make you feel good that you did more than your fair share, there are cognitive explanations. Growing up, my brother and I had to put away the dishes while my parents were at work. And I'm sure I put away the dishes more often than my brother. And my brother's thinking the same thing. He put away the dishes more often than I did. Both of these beliefs can't be true. The cognitive explanation is that when estimating how often I put away the dishes, I think about all the times I put away the dishes because I did it. And when I try to think about all the times my brother put away the dishes, I have a hard time doing it because I'm doing something else. I'm hiking the dog out or something. I'm just doing something else. So I can't think of the times my brother put away the dishes. This bias in our lived experience overestimates my contribution and underestimates his contribution and makes it very easy for me to think I did more of the work than he did. Now, this is important to know so that you might put more effort into thinking about all the work other people did, and maybe you're going to be less likely to get angry at your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner, or any person in any relationship. And in relating it to the institutional learning outcomes, students are much more likely to think critically. They're much more likely to challenge and evaluate their own beliefs about how much they contributed to their company or their workplace. They might be more likely to engage in diverse values with civic and ethical awareness by thinking about another person's contribution and reducing conflict. They're also able to apply their learning. So not only can the students apply the egocentric bias to their interpersonal relationships, they can apply it as leaders, as managers, and think about the contributions of their employees and acknowledge the efforts of others so that they can build rapport and improve the workplace climate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marge Helzer, followed by Paula Thani.
Dr. Bolger, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening, to say a few words about the anthropology program at Lane Community College. I'll address 3 points: my experience, my research, and some ongoing collaborations with the University of Oregon. I taught at Central Oregon Community College, Oregon State University, and the University of Oregon before joining the faculty here at Lane. And in addition to my teaching here, I've continued to do research. For the last 10 years, I've worked with the U of O Archaeology Field School at Rimrock Draw Rock Shelter near Burns. It's been a site where we're providing university and LCC students with valuable field experience at a site with major significance. Rimrock is one of the oldest human habitations in North America. The site has revealed points and scrapers in association with Pleistocene megafauna, including camel bones. Some of our LCC students have used their experiences to go on to advanced degrees and professorships at universities. Gabe Sanchez, who got his start right here at LCC, is now a professor of archaeology at the University of Oregon. Jamie Kennedy, my former lab assistant, is now director of the archaeological research at the Museum of Natural and Cultural History. The thing is, archaeology is now entering a new and expansive phase of workforce need. The bipartisan infrastructure bill signed into law just a year ago allocates over $1 trillion for roads, bridges, and rail. Of this, Oregon will receive $3.6 billion. Every infrastructure project involving excavation requires by law survey and recovery work done by professional archaeologists. In Oregon, this may mean thousands of new jobs in archaeology and in cultural resource management. This critical workforce need will extend well into the next decade. For every PhD or master's level archaeologist directing recovery projects, there will be a crew of 10 or 20 workers who meet the minimum qualifications of coursework in archaeology and field experience. I'm currently having discussions with the research director at the U of O, and I will soon be meeting with others in the Department of Anthropology. What is clear at this point is that we have a shared interest in developing a program where students get the training and the coursework early enough in their education so they can enter the workforce sooner rather than later. I hope that in a year or so from now, I can stand here and report on how these collaborations are benefiting our college, our students, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, President Bulger and board members. I'm speaking on behalf, my name is Paula Tony. I'm speaking on behalf of the Science, Math, and Engineering full-time faculty about the STEM Learning Zone. So I wanted to just describe the space a little bit, but I also emailed you photographs of the space to sort of flesh out your vision of it. The STEM Learning Zone is at the heart of Building 16. The fact that our classrooms wrap around this space is a physical manifestation of how students are at the heart of what we do. Without the STEM Learning Zone, students would come to class and then leave. With the zone, students are encouraged to linger in a welcoming space, to interact and connect with staff, tutors, faculty, and other students. It is a true third space for students, whether they choose to work quietly on their own, support each other in study groups, or work with a tutor. Because the zone is in our building, faculty are able to check in with students and tutors informally. We form relationships with and support our tutors. This interconnectedness is vital. During the pandemic, all tutoring services were centralized and moved online. Academic Tutoring Services, or ATS, has created a very effective system for students to make appointments for tutoring online or in person. However, we still need the STEM Learning Zone. Closing it leaves a dead zone in the center of our building. President Bulger identified enrollment and retention of students as an institutional priority. Creating a home for students on campus where students can just be, connect, and feel supported is a crucial piece of retaining our students. On the science side of the zone, students can check out rocks, build chemistry models, and use microscopes to make up biology labs. Pre-nursing students form study groups in the anatomy and physiology room where they have access to models of the human body. And I sent you some pictures of these. On the math side, we have some fun mathy visuals, but mostly what we provide is support and encouragement in a subject that has been a barrier to success for many students. This space is where we encourage students to persist. Some students come here and know that they are not alone. What ATS provides is important, but it does not replace the importance of the space in Building 16. Students have mentioned how much they value having a space for drop-in tutoring with no appointment. They may not know until the day of that they are confused about something. Sometimes the ATS tutors are booked out for a week or more, and having other tutors in the zone available for drop-in tutoring makes a difference. Right now, the zone is not open on Mondays. We have no evening hours, and the tutoring staffing is extremely thin. There are many time slots when there is no math help available. When enrollment is down, while enrollment has been down, our campus is livelier than it's been in some time. If we don't staff this space now, how can we expect our students to form the habit of spending time studying on campus with other students, with tutors, and with faculty? We can encourage them to use the space, but if they go in there and there's no help, they're probably not going to come back. So we want to ask you to commit funds to staffing this space. We don't want to close the doors to our students. We want to welcome our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marie-Ange Manigang, followed by Amaya Kurdika-Burdu.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marie-Ange Musongo Moneang, and I'm an immigrant from Cameroon, and this is my second year at Lane. Being a student here has been a beautiful experience for me for many different reasons. I have met so many new people from different walks of life with different stories, and I'm also fortunate to be able to state that I have many encouraging professors, counselors, and advisors who can support me through my challenges and also rejoice with me when I achieve my goals. Since becoming a student at LCC, I have learned the importance of giving someone else my time. As a student senator, spending time getting to know not only the students, but also the staff allows me to recognize reoccurring issues and brainstorm possible solutions. Additionally, I have seen that other people's time is the most significant gift I have received, and it isn't difficult to understand. With the assistance of tutors and additional helpful instructors who hold office hours at the STEM Center, I was able to get through many challenges in math. Being able to have tutors guide, teach, and encourage me through my learning experiences as a student, especially one who is not very strong in math, makes me feel valued and also enables me to better understand difficult topics, sections, and concepts. Today, I would love to ask the board members to support more staffing in the STEM Center. I would also like to request an extension of the hours at the STEM Center Learning Zone that it's open. If we could have it open Mondays and start offering the students evening hours, I believe that this will greatly impact the support that we are able to provide the students at Lane. Giving each other the time we have available not only demonstrates our love for one another, but I believe that it is also able to unify us, not only as students and staff members of a school, but also a community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Education and President Bulger. My name is Amaya Kirkaburu. I am the Vice President of the Lane Student Government Association, and I'm the student representative for the Faculty Council. I have been a student here at Lane Community College since the winter term of 2020. I started taking classes on campus approximately 10 weeks before the COVID-19 pandemic officially began. And I was in the first wave of students to return to campus in winter 2022. While I have been impressed by how efficiently many of the on-campus resources returned after the pandemic, one resource has been noticeably lacking: the STEM Learning Zone. Back when I started taking classes in winter of 2020, the STEM Learning Zone was critical in helping me excel in my intermediate algebra course. I knew that no matter how stuck I got on a problem, I could always go to the STEM Learning Zone and get help. I visited consistently to get assistance from my professor and the various tutors that were nearly always available. During my first term, the STEM Learning Zone ensured that I always had access to the help I needed in a timely fashion. However, since returning to campus after the COVID-19 pandemic, I've been discouraged by the lack of help available in the STEM Learning Zone. It is often closed due to staffing shortages, and when it is open, tutors are rarely available to help. I have visited the STEM Learning Zone nearly every week this term, and I've only ever seen one tutor or professor present at one time. As a result, it has been difficult for me to access the help I need for my chemistry homework, and I rely entirely on my professor's office hours. I do not view the STEM Learning Zone as a resource anymore. Instead, I perceive and use it as just another place to study on campus. I've spoken to many other students studying STEM in STEM and non-STEM related fields, and I found that they share a similar sentiment. There's simply not enough staff available in the STEM Learning Zone for it to be a sufficient resource. It saddens and frustrates me to acknowledge that hundreds of students are not getting the help they need to succeed in their math and science related classes because there are no tutoring resources available. The STEM Learning Zone has the potential to be an invaluable resource to students on campus and can potentially improve student performance in math and science classes. As a result, I would like to urge the college to consider addressing the staffing issues in the STEM Learning Zone so that future students can access the help and resources they need to excel in their STEM-related classes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. That it? Okay.
Jake Sherman. Is he still on?
So what's the name?
Jake Sherman.
Are you there, Jake?
Send a notification on Zoom.
Looks like we just got him. The floor is yours. If you unmute yourself. We're getting closer.
Hello. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just here to listen in.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So you
thank
don't-
you.
You're most welcome. We're glad you're with us.
Thanks
Is
so
there
much.
anyone else online who wants to be heard? No. Okay. In keeping with backing into this agenda, I should alert everyone to the fact that the board does not respond directly to issues raised, but will refer those issues to the president for appropriate action. So I think we have no further individuals with us who want to be heard this evening, I'm assuming. So we'll move on to the president's report.
Thank you. I'd like to begin by wishing everyone a belated Thanksgiving holiday and hope you had a restful and festive time with your loved ones. This month's report features events on campus. There were events that were designed for community engagement. There was a Women in Trades event that was held to encourage new recruitment of high school students. There was also an event that is an LCC fall performance with area high schools in the music department. And there was also an artist talk in the LCC gallery. There were some college events, all college events. There was an event held on November 15th on trends shaping community colleges with an outside thought leader, Scott Van Pelt. There was also a Lane Fall Forum that was designed to provide the community information on how the college is funded, including enrollment metrics and the legislative process. I want to end by giving kudos to the women's basketball team, which finished the Titan Classic tournament with a 3-0 record to take home the championship trophy. So kudos to them.
Thank you. Yes, Steve?
I'd just like to make a brief comment, if that's okay.
Sure.
I can imagine it must be a little disappointing to come out to a Board of Education meeting and give public testimony and not have any response directly from the board. So just echoing though what Rosie said, that senior staff are in the room and are certainly are taking notes and will provide us with some information so we get a complete sense of a full 360-degree kind of picture of what's going on there. And at a subsequent meeting, there may be some action. So I just wanted to assure people we're not just sitting here, dead and not listening. We're hearing you, and then there will be some kind of response, but just not immediately.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. So we're going to move on to action items. The first item is action item 3A. Dr. Bolger?
Yes, 3A is the Oregon School Board Association, the vote by the board members. And this was discussed in the work session. And tonight there would be a vote on this resolution. Essentially, the OSBA resolution is about the legislative priorities for OSBA this year.
So do I have a motion to approve? Austin?
I make a motion to vote yes on the Oregon School Board Association resolution for legislative priorities.
Is there a second? Second. Lisa? Thank you. Austin, you want to speak to your motion?
I think I spoke in support of this last time, and also I look forward to OCCA working alongside Oregon School Board Association to prioritize education and funding towards education.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from board members? I think we're ready to vote. Celia?
Mike Eister,
Aye.
Lisa Fragola,
Aye.
Austin Volnaghi,
Aye.
Steve Mattel,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item B, security camera replacement contract. Dr. Bulger?
Thank you. I'd like to have Chief Rupp and also Tom Goodhue come up to the podium and talk about this action item. This is related to security camera replacement. There's a contract approval.
Yes, this is a contract approval. It is, it will be bond funded. The bonds, certainly a critical part of the bonds was overall campus safety. Many of the cameras that we have on our campus right now go back to, I think, about 2005 or before. And as you can guess with that, technology has changed a little bit. Systems are getting old, so it's time to replace it. Chief Rupp has been involved with a series of things to both look at the systems as well as been deeply involved in looking at what the needs are. So we presented that. We've come forward with this system that we feel is flexible as well as expandable, because one of the long range goals is to expand it. The initial pass is to replace these original cameras that we'll be holding on to a certain amount. Some of them that aren't quite that old, aren't quite past their life, and we'll be bringing them in as time that's on. So I think we'll open it to the floor. Chief Rupp is here, not just as my security in case you guys get angry at me, but to answer questions on that technical side. So
questions, comments from board members? For the benefit of those viewing online or with us this evening, board members did forward questions about this contract approval to Dr. Bulger offline or online rather. And so we've received some information in answer to a number of different questions board members have posed. Austin?
I just want to make a motion to approve and award the security camera replacement contract to Verkada. Is that how Verkada Incorporated?
In the memo in your packet, Austin, there is a specific wording.
Oh, I
You
apologize.
might want to reference that and use that as your motion.
Okay, I apologize.
No worries.
Motion in accordance with the proposal documents, CVE Technologies. Sorry, 1 second. Technologies of Tigard, Oregon, be awarded the contract in the amount of $440,333.40 for the installation of related equipment, setup, and support for the replacement of 120 campus security cameras.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Mike. Austin, you want to speak to your motion, and then I have Angela in the queue.
Yeah, I'm glad we included that 40 cents in there. We want to count every one of those pennies. Anyway, no, I feel like this is a part of making sure that we provide security on campus. I do have some questions about the proactive use of these cameras, and I look forward to the discussion here at the board.
Thank you. Angela?
Thank you. I was responsible for some of the questions in advance, so I wanted to share those in this setting, the responses that I received, so that the public has a full view of what we have had available to consider. Just a note that the funding for the purchase comes from 2020 bond funds, and that the improvement of campus safety and security was a key tenet of the bond proposal. I'm just reading Dr. Bulger's notes now, so sorry for plagiarizing you, Dr. Bulger. This was something that was identified as a significant need in the 2020 facilities master plan, so this is not a new or unexpected expense. CBA principles were considered during the selection process. This is aligned with Dr. Bulger's 3 primary goals, which we have expressed support for: fiscal transparency, enrollment, and culture. And I think that concludes the questions that I had posed, the responses to the questions that I had posed. So thank you very much for reviewing and responding to all of those. That's very helpful for me.
Thank you. Austin?
And I think I just only gave a heads up that I was going to ask this question. First off, Lisa, thank you for the work that you and campus security do on campus in providing security. Obviously, with these cameras, you know, there's either you can be a reactive or proactive, or to respond to instances with security cameras. Or security cameras can be used for forensics and so forth. But I was wondering how we could potentially use these upgrades with cameras to be able to take action if there is an incident happening on campus.
Thank you for the question. There are several ways that we can use the cameras proactively and not just reactively. First off, we don't have the employees to sit there and watch and monitor the cameras. However, when we do receive calls for service, we're able to look at the video feed, see if we can, gather any evidence that we have about what's happening, what may happen, share that information with officers that are responding or law enforcement. But some of the things that the new camera system will do for us is being able to share a live feed with law enforcement in real time in case of an active shooter or violent actor. And that's extremely important as far as response times, less time for them to search or find the person if we can see them. We can also, there's also motion detection for after hours in graveyard when, let's say there's a door ajar and an officer, instead of going in blindly by themselves because they're not armed, they can see that the person's on there and then have backup with them, or have Lane County Sheriff be there with them for protection. It also detects large crowds. So if we were to have an unauthorized protest or something of the sort, or we've had instances where groups of people have come onto campus overnight to skateboard, to drink, to record inappropriate videos and things like that. So cameras would detect motions from large crowds. It has tampering detection. So if someone tried to tamper with a video, the camera, it will let us know. We had that instance in 2020 with some of the riots that happened downtown, where rioters damaged cameras at the downtown campus. And it also lets us be aware of persons of interest. And so what that would do is it would let us know if we've had a known history with someone that is not a student or an employee that could be dangerous, or have known issues where they want to cause harm to somebody. We would have a photo of that person in the system. If they are seen on campus, we would get a notification and we could respond and act accordingly, whether it's gathering information, are they supposed to be on campus, things like that. We've had several instances where we've had some specialized support services employees or students that are endangered for sexual exploitation. We had one go missing last year, and we could not find her in a timely manner. If we would have been notified that this person was missing, we could have put their photograph into the camera system, and we would have been able to find the person much faster than the hour or so that it took us to find them.
Thank you. I really appreciate that additional info.
You're welcome.
Steve?
Is there a process by which you plan to identify blind spots, just as you occasionally and is there money left in the budget to, plug those blind spots with cameras?
I can answer the first part and I'll let my colleague answer the second one. When we've been working on identifying our needs for a whole year, and we researched different companies, different vendors, and we found that, we found Verkada, and they did a survey of all of our campuses, and then that's when we found out what needs we may have. And I'll let Tom answer your second question.
There is addition, there is still bond funds left. I'll say that. I think it's always a balance of where we are. I know as we develop these new buildings, we've been working with Chief Rupp and her staff to identify some of those. That the iTech building is over on the east edge of campus. So there are some outdoor cameras that we'll be able to provide to help cover kind of that corridor of that entry. Health professions, again, is one that's on that edge of campus that will allow us to add a couple more cameras along that. So we'll continue to do that as we go through projects. It'll be a case by case. I think part of the contract, one of the beauties of this type of a contract is a purchasing agreement that's statewide and beyond, allows us to add on with the same benefits. So if we find something that's really necessary, whether that's out of other operational funds or out of bond funds, we have that set pricing already and can plug into the system. And it was one of the quiet requirements for the system to be easily expandable over time.
Any other questions, observations by board members? I think we're ready to vote. Celia, would you call a roll, please?
Mike Eister,
Aye.
Lisa Fragala,
Aye.
Austin Volnaghi,
Aye.
Steve Mattel,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus.
Aye.
Motion carries, contract approved. Thank you. Thank you both. Yes, Steve.
I just once again want to thank Angela for all the questions and then, of course, the responses we get. I guess I'm gonna have to read these things much more closely next year when she's no longer here. I'm not quite sure how we're gonna handle that, but
Yeah.
thank you as always, Angela, for the great questions.
Thanks. We are moving on to discussion items, Career Pathways Benefits Navigator STEP Program. Dr. Boulder?
Thank you. I'd like to ask Interim VP for Academic Affairs, Grant Matthews, to introduce our speakers.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to introduce Rebecca Ramos, who is one of our Career Pathways Navigators and also our Chief Benefits Navigator, and also Rosa Lopez, who is the Faculty Coordinator for Career Pathways. And they have prepared a wonderful presentation on the work that we are doing in Career Pathways. I'm excited for that.
Good evening, board members and President Bolger. My name is Rosa Lopez. I'm the Career Pathways Faculty Coordinator here at LCC. I've been in this role for about 12 years.
Good evening, board members and President Bolger, and I'm Rebecca Ramos, the Career Pathways Coach and Benefits Navigator.
So we received some questions that you wanted some updates about Pathways to Opportunity, Career Pathways. I think there was also some questions about STEP and House Bill 2835. I know we've presented for the board in the past. There were a lot of questions. I think we tried to create something for you, but if we didn't quite hit your questions, feel free to ask more. And we also did get some online, which I think were responded and also brought some data with us to share. So really quickly, Career Pathways and Pathways to Opportunity are not the same thing, but they do come from the same space. So there, under all the text that's showing up, you would see that we started with a Career Pathways initiative in 2004 in the state of Oregon. It included 6 community colleges and moved on to all 17 community colleges by about 2008 when the recession hit. And we started off with just the notion of those short stackable CTE certificates, so sort of micro credentials that are built into the larger AAS programs. And that was great, but that wasn't enough. So as we developed and as we grew, we became part of a multi-state quality alliance for career pathways and recognized that there's multiple levels. So we had to create an instructional element that include accelerated remediation, contextualization, bridges. We also included career coaching and coaching navigation for all the career pathways. And ultimately, over time, that framework that is part of that statewide, multi-state quality framework for career pathways needed to include access to public benefits. So in 2018, Oregon did a lot of work trying to figure out how we can help support public benefits. And that was where the framework of Pathways to Opportunity came. So Pathways to Opportunity is really is really the notion of looking at helping students access federal, state, and local resources so that we can work on closing the opportunity gap. Now, what I didn't include in the presentation that we're going to talk about right now, but is included at the very end where we gave you some data slides just for your own benefit, is the fact that in Oregon, we haven't actually closed or even barely moved the needle on the opportunity gap for 30 years. Right. So if you look at our data in Oregon for 30 years, that ethnic demographic, that opportunity gap has not changed. And that was the problem they were looking at solving in 2018, because we look at what is the best way to really move the needle, move people out of that chronic generational poverty. And it was really about giving people access to accessible educational opportunities that lead into employment opportunities that will move them, that they have ability to grow and expand so that they move out of that chronic generational poverty. But how could we really affect that? How could we really give those students, those individuals access to that education and those opportunities? We needed to figure out how to ensure that they had access to benefits, because the way that our policy works is you either have to choose, you have those benefits, or you can access education. And if not, then you're in education and you're digging yourself into poverty, you're going into debt. And we believe that education is a method that you should be getting out of poverty and into an economic mobility and not driving yourself deeper into debt. So in 2018, Oregon was actually the first state to enact legislation in House Bill 4043 that really pushed us to look at ways that we can align public benefits and support post-secondary attendance. We're super proud in Oregon for having been the first state to do this. And with that came the seed money for Pathways to Opportunity. So with that seed money, and this was really under the guidance of President Mitsui from PCC, who had previously worked in the Obama administration for the College of Ed. So he was really the person who built all this infrastructure. And I'm very proud of Oregon for all the work we've done. So in 2018, after this passed, we brought all 17 community colleges together. We created community practice. We brought in Department of Human Services, Oregon Employment Department, large nonprofit agencies, St. Vincent de Paul Goodwill, and also localized agencies from all the different community college districts. We met at the Convention Center, Oregon. We met digitally. We worked together about which policies were preventing our students from accessing benefits, which policies were preventing people in the system, TANF clients, from accessing education. And there are many. There are many. SNAP access was one of them. SNAP was the first thing that we engaged with of how can we change SNAP access through policy in Oregon so that students could actually access SNAP. And Oregon was one of 3 states to change that policy. That was pre-pandemic. And we're very proud of that as well. And so as a team, we met and we created this framework. You know, this is a large convention center level teams of networks, local and large. And that it really wasn't just about the academic program, that yes, we needed to have quality academic programs at LCC with quality instructors. We needed to have participant-focused onboarding opportunities that weren't excessive barriers so that our high barrier populations couldn't access them. Those programs needed to also include integrated coaching where the instructor and the coach were working in collaboration. That was important. That was already part of our Career Pathways framework, but it wasn't enough. We needed to impact policy, and we needed to do that in partnership with our local social service agencies and state, federal, and local agencies as well.
Okay, and so thanks to that framework is why I'm here tonight, able to speak to you all a little bit about basic needs and specifically House Bill 2835. But before I go into House Bill 2835, we want to shed some light on some of this data. So this data was collected by the PTO back in 2018 from the College Board, where hopefully everybody in this room knows that the average cost of attendance for college students is about $25,000 now. And we're talking 40 to 50% of that is going towards room and board, and the other 20 to 25% is going to tuition, and then the remaining is going towards food, childcare, transportation, you name it, right? So the average student nationwide, they still have all these unmet needs, and 71% of those students still have unmet needs. So we're talking nationwide, 71% of students still have that. And I want you to remember that because in 2020, summer of 2020, the Hope Center's Real College Survey was able to give us numbers specifically to LCC. And so out of our LCC students that participated in the survey, 14% reported to be unhoused. 39% reported to be facing some type of housing insecurity, meaning that they're probably couch surfing, they're probably camping out in the woods right now. Technically, they have a tent over their, their head and their shoulders. They are probably in an abusive relationship and they don't feel safe enough to leave that relationship. We've got 47% of our students who are food insecure. Thankfully, we have a food pantry, which I'll touch on in a sec too. But if you see the number, there's still 63% of our LCC students that have some type of unmet need. And the national average is 71%, right? So this is really not only at the center of the PTO's work, but really what drove us to enact HB 2835. And before I say that really quickly, 38% as well of our LCC students, so 30% of our students reported that they didn't even know about the public benefits or resources that were available to them on campus and in the community. And so that's really, again, what passed HB 2835. It passed last year, 2021. And really what it requires is building on what Rosa mentioned about having post-secondary education institutions and public sectors to work together to leverage the massive amount of debt that students are going into. So because of this House bill, every community college and university in Oregon requires them to have a benefits navigator. So that's me at LCC here. And my role is really to make sure that students know about the resources that are available to them, not only on campus, but off campus, right? We're talking federal, state, and local resources, but expanding beyond that, right? Not just having our students know about the resources, but how do you get connected to them? How do you apply? Are you eligible? We have a lot of international students that don't qualify for SNAP, right? So it is crucial that we make sure that we tell them where to get food. And it allows us to develop a community practice where all of the benefits navigators come together once a month and we share challenges and successes and we submit reports to the HEC so we can continue to showcase that we have a huge need, again, of students that are not aware of the resources or just not tapping into those resources to getting them to complete, right? Because that's really what we're focused on here, right? To increase our numbers of students to being retained and persisting and completing. How do we expect that if their basic needs are not being met? And the way HB 2035 looks like on the campus of LCC is through our care services. So community advocacy and resource education, also known as CARE, that is HB 2835 in action. And what that means is that there are 6 coaches of us in the Career Pathways Department that offer benefits navigation to any student that comes into our door. And so this is any LCC student can come to our door and we will get them connected to resources by assessing their needs and by making those referrals, right? We're not just going to tell someone, hey, go to the employment department or workforce centers. No, we have those relationships that Career Pathways has been able to cultivate and really strengthening those partnerships with our communities, partners and agencies is critical. And so that's really, again, what we focus on in CARE is connecting students to those resources on and off campus. And I'm going to give a quick shout out because both Ramon and Carl are here. And so also doing cross-departmental collaboration, right, is key. So not just focusing on external resources, because we know we can offer everything to students, but really strengthening the resources that we currently do offer to our students. Again, and so 6 of us are doing that navigation with students, and it also allows myself to nurture those relationships with the community. For example, I was able to, we were just able to join the youth homelessness demonstration project that's being ran by Lane County Health and Human Services. So they are bringing everybody to the table that provides direct service for unhoused youth. And they were so excited to see LCC at the table because that's what we want, right? We want to create those pipeline programs and those partnerships. And we have all these youth that graduate high school and they don't even know about the resources and help that's offered here at LCC, or like the Schaefer Grant, right? So many resources that we can help students not only be aware of, but get connected to. And again, that's really part of my role here with Career Pathways. And I will give you a quick visual of how it works. And apologies, it's a bit blurry because this was part of a Prezi. But again, any LCC student is welcome to come in through our doors, and that's physically coming through the Career Pathways department or through our interest form. We have our interest form that, again, our partners in DHS, Lane County Health and Human Services, OED, Goodwill, they are all so good at referring students to us. And they meet with us, whether it's myself or any of the other coaches that are on care, and then we assess their needs. And if they have to get connected or be referred to a resource, we do that. And while doing so, we also assess them and see if they can qualify for any of our other career pathways coaching programs. That it's all those beautiful acronyms that Rosa's going to talk more about.
So I'll do this part quickly. So because you asked for updates on career pathways and on House Bill 2835 and PTO. So CARE, as you know, so by now, you know, PTO, you know, House Bill 2835, and that CARE is LCC's version of House Bill 2835. And then as Rebecca mentioned, any LCC student, any prospective student can come to CARE and get connected to those resources, both internal, external. And then as she mentioned, we do at that point, see if they might be eligible for one of our many and continuously growing coaching opportunities within our department. These are pretty much all grants that we get. We are constantly applying for grants. We assume that we'll never get additional funding, so we just always apply for grants. So it's what we do. So we have if you are eligible, if you're in a CTE program, most of our CTE programs have stackable credentials within them. Not all of them do, but if you are in a CTE program that has stacks, and we can qualify that as workforce training, which by the way is one of the changes in policy, that we were able to qualify credit level CTE associate's degrees as workforce training, which is quite a different definition from what was workforce training several years ago, several decades ago, you know. So we used to call workforce training sort of these non-credit training opportunities for a specific employer. The fact that we now can use those same funding sources to create pipelines from those workforce clients into our system in programs where they can get some credit and continue to grow, either get an employment or continue their education along a larger path. So one of our board members asked for an acronym definition and for us to spell that out. We did put a slide here. So if that's there for that individual's access. But really quickly, PASS is our longest program. It's an instructional based program with supplemental instruction that has contextualized remediation. I've actually been here to talk about it for a few times over the years for early child education and other programs. We change the demographics and programs when we engage with PASS because we're bringing English language learners, GED students who don't have access generally to that CTE program, and we provide supplemental instruction and get them through. We have a higher completion rate with those students than any of our other populations, even though these are students that didn't have access to begin with. STEP. If you don't know about STEP, you should know about STEP. STEP is a statewide program, all 17 community colleges, all Oregon employment system, workforce centers, locally, many nonprofits, Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul, Food for Lane County, all have STEP programs, and we work in collaboration. We do shared case management. It's for SNAP recipients, and essentially we make sure that there is no unmet need. So you get your Pell, but we're going to do what we can to make sure you also don't take out a loan. So we're going to figure out how to get that tuition paid for, those books, supplies, provide very intensive coaching, not an option, and we get you through those programs. That program has brought in, over a 5-year period, $13 million new dollars to the state of Oregon's community college system. New federal dollars that previously weren't in the state of Oregon. We're not fighting over it with other people. That's new money to the state. And it's because as we grow and as we expand, we're able to bill the services we offer, and we get 50% more funding so that we can continue to grow that from the federal government. So this is why we get a lot of support from the Oregon's President's Council and from the OCCA and from other agencies in order to support, and the HEC to continue to grow STEP, because it actually helps Oregon overall. And that's just the community college system. I don't know how much the Oregon Employment Department system has brought into the state of Oregon. ICAP is for vocational rehabilitation. Occupational skills is a customizable certificate often used by vocational rehabilitation. It's instructional based again. SIP is for first generation immigrants. It's another grant that we just got accepted into, and we're writing another one as we speak. Most people know that we sort of took the culinary program under our wing last year, and we shifted it into a career pathways model. So there's an attached coach to it. And the BOLI pass was actually not our grant. Lane ESD applied for that grant, and they got it. And it was a Future Ready Oregon grant where they have a pre-apprenticeship at Lane ESD, but they they requested that they use our coaching services. So we fund, we provide coaching for their students that start at Lane EST, do a pre-apprenticeship, because all Future Ready Oregon does require that priority populations, which we provide quite easily in our department. So those are our career pathway structures. I don't think I'm going to go over the other slides, but what I will tell you is that in 2021-22, we didn't have our coaches. We didn't have most of our coaches hired for all these grants that we were, hired. It just took us a while. But still, we served coaching wise 295 students. 142 were self-declared BIPOC. 205 of them were STEP. That was last year. In the current year, now that we have our coaches hired just since October 1, just since October 1, we have 190 CP students. 86 of those are brand new for this year, right? So we're expecting to double our numbers for this year. Care services, we had for the month of September, that's 1 month, there were 494 recorded student service visits. We don't always record them all because they happen, but we try to do a better job. 494 recorded student service visits to the care center, Career Pathway Center. That includes coaching visits, inquiry visits from, referrals or drop-in care, maybe, and some duplicate students. Of the 494, 145 were doing care requests. So basic needs, resources, and referral requests. Again, our BIPOC rate just runs right around for both care and career pathways, runs around that 50%. So that's it. I don't think I'm going to share any of these other slides, but I want you to know they exist. Oh, the employment one. I don't remember what. Oh, well, okay. So there's just fun data here that you can sift through if you want to, but I did kind of mention this. 1980 to 2019, this is our median hourly wage by race, ethnicity in the state of Oregon. So if you see that gap between white and people of color, it hasn't changed since 1980. And so that's the issue we're trying to address with Pathways to Opportunity. And that's why you see all those priority population requirements in our Future Ready Oregon legislation, because we went after that legislation pretty strongly. And what we showed in our career pathways data, completion number, both at the state level and at LCC, our completion rates are higher than the standard CTE student LCC by quite a bit, more than 50%. Our completion rates in the state, that reflects the state as well, and that our BIPOC completion rate is actually higher than our white population within our own programs. So that we're completing at a higher rate. Essentially, we close that completion rate, close the opportunity gap within career pathways, which is why we're able to advocate for continued funding for career pathways so strongly. So, any questions?
I'm assuming.
Rosie, can I be in the queue?
Questions.
That was Mike getting in the queue.
Austin?
I think that was Mike.
Yeah, first off, I hope the board can see why I strongly advocated for this presentation. And it's great to have this presentation back for this year. Thank you so much for this. Can you talk a little bit more about the wraparound services that you provide to our student population, both with using internal stakeholders as well as external agencies and resources?
Yeah, I think it really varies, right? Again, we have students, for example, yesterday we had a student come in, didn't know about the clothing stash. He needed a winter coat. We were able to walk him in, get him a winter coat. And while he was there, we also get him some food. And however, this student is someone who is a STEP participant, so he does have access to SNAP benefits. So it really does vary on a case-by-case basis. But again, I think to give you a brief rundown is there's a referral made, again, by one of our community partners, Oregon Employment Department, Workforce Centers, DHS. Those are some of our main referrals. They do send a lot of their participants who are, looking to further their education, or maybe they already have a GED or high school diploma and they want to continue with a short-term certificate. And we meet with, so the way it works is that once we receive that referral, I do that outreach. We do that outreach via phone, via email, schedule an appointment, have the student come in, walk them literally through the LCC admissions application, if they are eligible to fill out the FAFSA, the ORSA, right? Really assess all of those needs until the day that they're ready to meet with their advisor and have their schedule planned out. But again, that's one way. Again, when students come to us and they're saying, hey, I have a need, for example, we had a student the other day who needed medical insurance. And so we said, great, the health clinic here on campus is actually a community partner. So they're able to not only help you fill out that OHP application, but they can tell you in 15 minutes whether your application has been approved. So we did that, right? Walked the student over, translated myself actually, because they were an English language learner, and we were able to get them their OHP application approved right on the spot. So that was lovely. And then we've had students, for example, we just had a student who moved from California 2 months ago, and they're looking for a job while also they're going to be participating in one of our Past Lane programs. But because they have so much experience, they have been, we connected them with the WorkSource Center by emailing and again, doing that direct referral with the student. And then they've been able to meet with WorkSource, and they've already signed up for a couple workshops to work on their resume and cover letter. I don't know if that answers your question, but again, it kind of really does vary, right, on the need. But that gave you an example of an internal and external partner, hopefully.
Maybe
Like the
Absolutely.
care services, career pathways coaching, if you get coaching ongoing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and if I could add some of the other services that they provide that I think are hugely important. They do make sure that this, when they talk about coaching and advising with students, all of the students that they participate with in career pathways who are receiving coaching, part of that intensive interaction is putting together an academic and financial plan as they're looking at the programming and the education coursework that they're going to be doing. So not only are they looking out for the resources around food or other that students might need, but it's coupled with educational planning and financial planning to support that educational pathway.
Excellent. Thank you.
I can't see his hand.
Mike has.
Mike?
Yeah, I don't have access to a hand right now.
Oh,
So
probably a good thing.
that's a good thing. Rosa, I want to commend you and your staff for the excellent work you're doing. It seems to me that the time and energy and effort that's being spent in this area is leveraging resources to get maximum benefits for students and in turn for the economy of the region and the state. So the work is really important. I do have one question, and that is, I was curious about the benefit navigators, and I was wondering if is that funding ongoing? And secondly, were we able to actually add FTE for those benefit navigator positions, or did we simply ask other people who were already here to absorb that into an existing job?
So I'm just going to confirm that it has been, like, the funding has been continuous, but again, that's why those monthly reports are so critical to show to the HEC that not only do we need to have continued funding, but expanding that funding. But Rosa can talk about the FTE specific piece.
Yeah, because that was one of the requests that came through. So the funding's been continued through 2005 at this point, 2025, and our FTE, it pays for almost a full-time person, almost like a 0.9 of a full-time person. But because we have other funding like Future Ready, we have the STEP reinvestment, and she's picking up a small caseload, we're able to make sure that's one full-time person. But our model is that every single career pathways coach does benefits navigation for their specific clients. And they also do at least one shift in the care service center, usually 2 shifts in the care service center. And that allows us to stay open. And that allows Rebecca to be able to be out there at the collaboration for homeless youth. It allows her to go do the visits with shelter care. It allows her to develop those relationships and create those negotiations to help give our students better access than they have now. Instead of just giving them a phone number and email and saying, oh, here, I think they have some resources, we can actually negotiate some of those connections. So we are really proud of our model of care. Not every community college is doing House Bill 2835 that way. We have a unique model that's a collective that connects all these different grants together. And it really strengthens all our grants, and it strengthens her ability to develop those relationships.
Mike.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I was able to attend sessions put on by Mark Matsui at ACCT, and that was several years ago, and probably but while this was just in the works, and the idea was very impressive at the time, and I'm so happy to see that we're actually implementing it.
if I may just add as well, I think in partial answer to your question, Mike, the funding provided by the state, while a definite step in the right direction, we recognize does not fully cover what the need is on a campus when looking at all of the students who end up accessing the need for benefits navigation. That's one of the reasons I think we're really proud of this group is they found a way to leverage additional funds and put together a model that allows us to meet a much wider range of student need than what the initial funding has allowed for. But I think it also highlights that as we look at the success of programs like this and the state's interest in funding it, that there might need to be some additional looks at how to fund it appropriately at the different sizes of campuses that exist across the state.
Thanks for that additional information, Grant. That's actually what I was wondering about as well.
Lisa, and then Steve.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you both for all your advocacy for LCC students and all of your hard work. But in addition to that, for the policy work, I mean, the policy work often goes unrecognized. It's not the day-to-day work that we see, but it's what creates that institutional change. So thank you so much. I am curious, you mentioned around 30% of students when surveyed didn't know about the care. And so I'm curious, what are you doing to help get the word out and to address that?
Yeah, it was 38%. And so that was in the summer of 2020. And now that we're back in person or revamping thing, right? I think it's being very intentional about, again, meeting people across campus departments, doing tabling. For example, like we've been tabling at orientation events, doing classroom visits. We've been doing a couple of those. We're going to hopefully expand that in the winter term to other departments. And yeah, just intentional outreach. So tabling, we've got peer mentors who will also be presenting in classrooms. We've got a couple of faculty that have been able to implement our a syllabus statement with our resources and our contact information. And then we've also just been added to the EAB Navigate Early Alert system. So for any faculty member and really anybody that can access Navigate, if you have a student that they have a basic need or they're worried or they've shared some type of challenge with you, you can create an EAB Early Alert, and that's going to go directly to us. So EAB, intentional navigation in terms of the early alert system, classroom visits, tabling, and being out in the community. And I'm sure there are others that I probably haven't thought of in the 3 months that I've been here.
Great.
Yeah.
Steve?
First, a question. I think it's for you, Rebecca. I only just now heard that you've only been here 3 months, so now I'll realize this is not a fair question exactly.
It's
but
okay.
have you had the chance to connect with your counterpart at the University of Oregon?
Yes, definitely. We were actually colleagues. So we were both advisors at the U of O for the past 3 years. So yes, Julia Morrill, and then I've been able to reach out to the housing coordinator as well as the food pantry one. And that's why I mentioned the food pantry earlier. It was like, ooh, like we can strengthen something and maybe even have one that's you. But that's, again, dream big. But yes, I've been in contact with them. And then those monthly meetings are really the time for us to kind of get together and share those challenges and successes and what we see we can do differently. Because being someone that worked at the U for the past 2 years, we've noticed that there isn't much collaboration in terms of pipeline programs and things like that. So we're hoping to definitely strengthen that moving forward.
And then just a compliment. This is just essentially everything we want to hear. The things that you're doing are, your enthusiasm for both of you, by the way, is infectious. The program just sounds incredible. I'm personally ready to whip out my checkbook and try and support it. And it's helping in all the important ways with all of the strategic goals that we have for the institution. And you know that better than anybody. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you all. Yeah, I think, again, if I can just reiterate that, right? It's like we talk about retention and persistence and completion. It's like we can't really expect that if our students don't have their needs met. If they're going to be more worried about not having a place to live, not having food, of course, we're not going to improve those. Yeah, so hopefully.
Austin?
Steve, your reaction is exactly why I wanted this presentation and this conversation, because I see this as an incredible part of our institution. And what we should be doing as board members is continuing this conversation of how can we leverage this? How can we build our capacity with this? Because there's nearly it's approaching 9,000 people that are unemployed within our community. Many of them are STEP eligible. Many of them are eligible for many of the programs in the alphabet soup of all the different programs that are out there. And that should be a target of us. We talk about increasing our enrollment numbers. We talk about increasing our BIPOC community resources. We talk about how can we provide wraparound services. We talk about a variety of different things that this has a big, the solutions for those come from programs like this. And I just want the board to be, as excited as Steve that, how can we build the capacity around this? How can we have a conversation with our president, our cabinet of how can we build this capacity? Because the things that we've been talking about that have been problems from the pandemic and from 2020, a lot of those can be either supported, or we can help assist our student populations with these programs. So it not only should be like a wraparound service model, but also should be an enrollment increase model that we can pursue with these programs. So yeah, this is the type of stuff we should be like looking into, supporting. And if we go into a recessionary time period where those unemployment numbers go up, we should still be investing resources into these type of programs so that we can better build our capacity to serve those students when or potential students. So yeah, I just want the board to just know that this is a program that we can offer, that this is a resource to the community that we can offer, and that we can use this as part of our enrollment strategies. So I hope that we can continue to have this conversation about workforce development, education support systems, and how can we leverage these services to support many of the goals that we have as a board.
Very good. Awesome presentation. So informative, so helpful. I really appreciate it personally. I've learned a lot that I didn't know before. So I guess I would ask Dr. Bulger to take the opportunity to at some point come back to the board with some proposals on how we leverage this program, on how it's possible to increase our bench strength.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Austin, for making this happen.
Thank you. No, thank you for the wonderful staff that serve our students. Thank you.
Brings us to reports. And the first one will be from our student association. Welcome.
Good evening, Board of Education and President Bulger. My name is Nikhar Ramlikan and I serve as the president of the Lane Student Government Association. On behalf of the Lane SGA, we have prepared a report to highlight our achievements of the fall 2022 term and our objectives for the 2023 academic year. When we first took office in September, Amaya and I sat down to discuss plans on how we would revive the Lane SGA as students transitioned back onto campus following the COVID-19 pandemic. After countless phone calls and meetings, we came up with a plan to improve student engagement and well-being by providing resources and events for students to participate in. Our first report back to the board in October, our goals at hand were to recruit more officials to the Senate, implement new modalities for student engagement, and to advocate for the basic needs of LCC students. I would firstly like to address those three goals and their progress. The Lane SGA initially started with 4 officials back in September and currently has increased to a total of 9 officials. It is with great pleasure and pride to individually introduce and acknowledge each official of the Lane SGA tonight and discuss the roles and responsibility of each official. Firstly, we have Senator Sawyer Smith, who serves as the President Pro Tempore. Sawyer's responsibilities include managing the Senate's needs and liaising with the Vice President to ensure that there's a direct link between the executive officers, Amaya and I, and the Senate. He is also responsible for creating the agenda for our work sessions and public Senate meetings. Next, we have Senator Owen Robles, who serves as our Treasury Officer. Owen is responsible for managing our budget and the financial aspects of the SGA. Owen plays a crucial role in ensuring that we are within our budget, restrictions for planning and executing events, and sponsoring external student clubs. Next, we have Senator Ilhan Hanif, who serves as our Communications Officer. Ilhan is responsible for the creation of content that is accessible to the entire student body, such as adaptations to our website, preparation of minutes from the Senate meetings, and creating excerpts that are included in the Titan Times and emails from the SGA. Next, we have Senator Dyoto Susumu and Senator Hinatamura, our events and social media officers respectively. Dyoto is responsible for the management and planning of events for the student body, and Hina is responsible for managing the SGA Instagram account by creating content that promotes the SGA. Dyoto and Hina play a crucial role in increasing engagement and the popularity of the Student Government Association. Next, we have Senator Musongo Moneyang, our inclusivity officer. Musongo plays a crucial role in supporting and addressing student concerns regarding inclusion and diversity. Musongo spends a lot of her time in the Multicultural Center engaging with students and inquiring about how we can improve their experience here at Lane Community College. Our primary responsibility as the Lane SGA is to advocate for our students, and thus Musongo's role is critical in identifying student matters and collaborating with various departments to find solutions. Lastly, we have Senator Shoichiro Kamata. Shoichiro does not have a designated officer role and does work on an ad hoc basis, thus serving as a generalist officer. Shoichiro's primary responsibility is to be a voting member of the Senate and be part of important decisions and problem solving during our work sessions and public Senate meetings. Thank you, guys. Regarding modalities for student engagement, our implementation of using Moodle to deliver the Titan Times has been a success. Thus far, we have managed to find appropriate solutions that replace the functionality that Titan Communities once offered. Our use of these current modalities has been an appropriate replacement for Titan Communities, and thus we have dismissed the need to research future modalities. Our work to advocate for student basic needs is still in the process. Currently, we are aware of a survey that will be going out to the entire student body. This survey will be used to quantitatively understand the insecurities that our fellow students are facing. The survey is being put together by Institutional Research in collaboration with Community Advocacy, Resource Education, Care, Student Life and Leadership, and the Student Government. Once the survey is complete and sent out, our various departments will analyze the results and collaborate to determine an appropriate solution. The SGA has also made significant progress on the initially proposed goals and objectives that were made at our first board meeting. However, we have also been working on other projects. We are continuing to strengthen our relationship with the Oregon Student Association, OSA, and the Associated Students of University of Oregon, ASUO. We have collaborated with ASUO to interview and appoint a Eugene campus organizer. This appointed person will be responsible for representing OSA on our campuses and helping the Lane SGA reach its goals and objectives. We are looking forward to working with this appointed member in 2023. Our relationship with ASUO is also developing positively. A few SGA officials recently attended ASUO's public Senate meeting, where we gave a brief introduction of the Lane SGA to the ASUO Senate and highlighted key goals that we can collaborate on to achieve, including improving the accessibility of basic needs to Oregonian students. We have also been gathering members to represent the Oregon Students of Color Coalition, OSOC, and Oregon Student Equal Rights Alliance, OSERA. The Lane SGA will close office on Friday, December 2nd, 2022, and will reopen office on Monday, January 9th, 2023. Our goals for the 2023 year are to continue to represent and advocate for our students and increase student engagement. Possible events that we have planned include holding weekly on-campus events. We are also drafting up a more major event that will take place in the spring term. Our other future plans include meeting with President Bulger and the board to discuss student concerns at large and possible ways to improve student enrollment and engagement. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our advisor, Ramon Concepcion, for supporting us as the Lane SGA advisor. Ramon will be leaving Lane at the end of the term, and we wish him the best of luck on his future endeavors. Ramon has played a crucial role in our successes this term, and we will miss working with him in the future. Amaya and I are extremely proud of the successes achieved from the Senate, and we look forward to a busy 2023 year ahead. As always, I appreciate the time and efforts that the board has put into supporting us as the student government and the student body. We look forward to continuing to strengthen our relationship with the Board of Education and LCC leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Great report. Thank you very much.
I was just going to say that I was feeling a little sorry for you because you had to follow that last great presentation, but you pulled it off.
Kept up with- Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. Is Frankie Kokenor here with LCC.
Yes. Hi, Rosie. I'm online and I'm
very
going to keep my koala picture up because
I see it.
yep, I've been sick this week and it's much better looking than me right at this point. So I'll go ahead and start off. My name is Frankie Kokenor. I'm the president of LCCEF and my pronouns are she and hers. Last month, I brought to the board's attention that the administration had asked LCCEF if we would sign an MOA for the college to temporarily outsource some of our custodial work. And I explained that the department has been heavily shorthanded and they have not been able to fill those positions that were previously posted due to the low starting wage. Yesterday, the custodial professionals were notified that they were being reclassified 2 levels up. And I would like to thank the board and our administration in bringing this to a wonderful resolution. And I would especially like to thank the cabinet and our HR staff for getting this done so quickly. Thank you very much. I am hoping that one of the next things that LCCEF works with HR on and getting taken care of is the STEM learning zone and the CIT lab properly staffed with classified employees so that we can avoid a contract violation with having faculty staff in those classified professional positions. Most importantly, so that we can get the students the help with their tutoring that they need. After all, student success is important to all of us here at Lane. Other than that, I would like to wish everyone happy holidays and a very happy and safe new year. And I will see all of you next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Frankie. I know the board appreciates hearing when something good has happened. So thanks for sharing that with us. And now a report from LCCEA. Adrian?
Good evening, President Bulger and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of faculty. I'll address a few topics tonight: the speech restriction policy, board policies generally, a couple of brief updates, and one faculty spotlight. LCCEA officers received a message from the board indicating that the speech restriction policy may be considered again. We asked our OEA appointed attorney, Aruna Masi, to analyze the proposed board policy and the claim that the college must restrict the speech of internal groups in the same manner as external groups who have no affiliation with Lane Community College. She analyzed, one, whether the college is constitutionally required to apply the same time, place, and manner policy restrictions to speech of the association and students, which it applies to the speech of external groups, and two, whether the college may lawfully enact policies restricting the speech and advocacy rights of the association and its members protected by the PECPA. Her analysis concludes, this is a quote, "The answer to both questions is no." I will provide the full legal memo for your review. We again urge the board to ensure that hate speech continues to be prohibited on campus and to discontinue consideration of a new speech restriction policy that would legally which cannot legally restrict association and member speech, yet will primarily impact students. Regarding board policies generally, we encourage the board to rethink continuing to consider policies that are not legally required. The policy library that the board has subscribed to is based on California policies, a wholly different system in a state with much more substantial legislation that governs community colleges, including mandated shared governance. The policy library appears to lack adequate revision for Oregon, especially regarding collective bargaining law. Some of the policies are operational and diverge from board practice. It appears the policy library is not well adopted across the state. After a survey of many colleges in Oregon, it sounds like there may be only one other college board that is using the library. And adoption of policies that contravene the board authorized shared governance system places the college in jeopardy regarding accreditation, which requires a governance system that must include provisions for the consideration of the views of faculty, staff, administrators, and students on matters in which each has a direct and reasonable interest.
We are concerned that inclusion of highly controversial policies that are not legally required places our campus community at odds with the board at the very same time that we have a new LCC president who should be supported rather than placed in an unnecessarily challenging position. Instead, we suggest focusing on pressing priorities such as campus climate and enrollment and collaborative efforts to secure unprecedented levels of funding for community colleges and our students in the 2023 legislative session. Couple of brief updates. I echo the concerns shared tonight regarding the STEM learning zone. In addition, we've heard that faculty are asked to volunteer not only in the STEM learning zone, but in at least one other lab. This is not a sustainable solution and is problematic for many reasons in that students' needs are not being met. It violates the classified professionals contract and contravenes at least one federal labor law. The lack of essential support services impacts student success and ultimately retention and enrollment. On an unrelated update, LCCEA is conducting a survey of all faculty focused on improving search processes and campus conditions toward the dual goals of BIPOC faculty recruitment and retention, and advocacy for policies to improve recruitment and retention of members of historically oppressed groups. We look forward to collaborating with HR as we develop a plan to implement for next year. Finally, I would like to share a most wonderful faculty spotlight about an OER publication. Nutrition faculty member Tamberly Powell, along with her part-time faculty colleagues Heather Leonard and Alice Callahan, authored and published an open educational resource, a text called Nutrition, Science, and Everyday Application in December 2020. They published a second edition in August 2022 and also created a variety of ancillary materials to accompany the text with the collaboration of part-time faculty member Amber Yui. This OER is being used by current Lane students in the FN 225 course and also at over 50 colleges and universities that have adopted the text. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Adrian. Board members, you have a number of information reports in your packet. Are there questions about any of these reports? Hope that's air and not rain.
I think it's rain.
Oh, God. I'm not seeing any board members asking for additional information about the report, so we'll move to good of the order. Your future meeting dates and agenda items are listed there. I sent board members an offline email about agenda items that we're juggling on future agendas. Any questions about, I see we have board goals listed there. Are there questions or observations about board goals? Any general questions or comments or reports from board members? Austin.
Just a few OCCA stuff. So obviously, as you could tell from the previous OCCA presentation, our main focus right now is on legislative priorities. I'll be attending the OCCA board meeting on the 7th, as well as I was appointed to the legislative committee for OCCA. So I'll be attending some meetings in regards to that. And yeah, I hope to regularly be reporting back from the OCCA meetings and so forth. Rosie, I wanted to also mention that I haven't forgotten about even though we have a lot of legislative priorities and that's our main focus right now, I have been bringing up the topic of a joint board survey with OCCA in collaboration with them in regards to all the community colleges. So I'm keeping up that, mentioning that and pushing for that. So thank you, everyone. Oh, really? Also, really quick, in the annual conference that happened recently, Brett did a great job in presenting with Lane Community College on gun policy and our support around Measure 114. And it was a really informative conversation, and it was great to have that conversation with other board members from different community colleges. So thank you, and great job, Brett.
Very good. Thank you. Any other reports, comments, questions from board members for the good of the order? Steve?
Yeah, just following up on the STEM zone issue that got brought up by multiple people mostly during public testimony. When that happens, several people come and make a request or of the board. at least for me, the expectation, of course, is not to act right away. There's obviously just, additional information that we would want, but also given that it was brought to our attention, regardless of whether or not it's ultimately a board level issue, we might have differences of opinion of that. But once it does come to our attention, I feel like we have to hear from you all in terms of what the response is going to be. So at some point in the future.
Agreed. I think that brings us to adjournment.